Hello and welcome to Plus Sports Special on Saturday. My name is Mikhail Tinubu, and this special Saturday I have the pleasure of having with me Mudashiru Shittu.
It's good to be here as always. Interesting moments. A lot of people out there
Mm-hmm.
sitting in front of the TV trying to catch what we have for them today.
You know, I love our conversations because behind the scenes, we can just talk freely about what football. Of course, when we're on air, we have to talk about the stories, as relevant as they are. But sometimes there's still so much of football that historically the conversation would never end if we were talking about players like Van Persie in his heyday, Fernando Torres at Liverpool, not the version we got at Chelsea, even though that version was still able to make an impact at the Champions League semi-final against Barcelona. If we talk about the conversation about the greatest strikers that have ever played the game in just the Premier League.
Yeah, just like football, the memories of all sports, you know, it's always in the archive and you can just pick it from nowhere. Days that remember good days and bad days. Just even before the documentary before the show was about Ozil, and I told you that Ozil is one of the best players ever.
He was absolutely splendid in how little effort he needed to put into playing football. A lot of people's reason why they love Messi over Cristiano Ronaldo in the Messi versus Ronaldo debate is because for them the talent is so much more effortless for him, whereas Ronaldo has to work much harder. Other players who seem to play the game with such ease, with no real burdens on their shoulder, players like Berbatov, played football as though they could play anywhere on the pitch, regardless.
And we media, we've not done so much. I think we have to be blamed for that central concentration on Ronaldo and Messi.
Yes.
For an era where we have an Ozil, an era where we have a Modric, an era where we have fantastic players.
True. We had Di Maria playing in the same squad as Lionel Messi, and for me, Di Maria suffered, I wouldn't call it indignity, unfortunateness for him to be in the same era as Lionel Messi, because no matter how well he played in the national team, Messi was the main man.
And that's courtesy of the media. Like I said, I think the media is unfair on some certain players. But thank God an era will soon pass. I mean, there's a face of an era. And we hope that we cannot talk about some new set of
But you
players.
know, the reason why the Ronaldo and Messi era seems to capture our attention so much is because, for me, throughout the landscape of the history of football, there's always been a multitude of talent. At any given point, there was a German player who was considered better than everyone else. There was a Brazilian who was considered better than everyone else. There was a Portuguese player considered better than everyone else. Every country seemed to have a great player, Del Piero from Italy. You know, there was always a multitude, 5, 6, 10 players.
And that's why I keep going back to the media. The media makes it look as if that era was over, that it was because there were lack of interesting players. That is why we concentrated on Messi. We could remember in 1999 where player of the year, we had Rivaldo,
Yes.
we have Beckham,
Yes.
we have Ronaldo.
We still had players like Cafu in that era.
But you know, and the media is centered on just Ronaldo, Messi, as if there was never an Ozil, as if there was never Drogba, you know, as if there was never. So to me, I believe that there's never an era whereby there have not been quality player. It's just the concentrations of the media that makes it look as.
So in your opinion, once this era is over, we'll go back to the old
era of whereby it will not be difficult for us to say this is going to be the footballer of the year, the Ballon d'Or winner.
You don't think the likes of Haaland and Mbappe are still going to be miles ahead of everyone else?
No, I don't think so. With Foden and some certain players coming, I think I don't think so. Except if the media tend making the same mistake, you understand? And you know, when it comes to those media, it has to start from the Europeans. You know, the concentration on these two players made the other.
But the fact right now is that a lot of players are judged based on their numbers, and the numbers that Messi, Ronaldo set have perhaps set a precedence that will judge other future players. So even less likely for us to go back to the days of Maldini or Cannavaro being considered the best players in the world, even though they were defenders. Roberto Carlos being considered the best player in the world. Now, don't you think that with the likes of Haaland and Mbappe in the game, with the game and the focus on the best player being the judgment on that being on the striker, the amount of goals they produce, the amount of assists they produce. Players like Foden aren't going to get 30 goals a season.
Yeah, and that's that. In that case, that has to be the policy of award winners, FIFA, the French magazine Ballon. They need to change that mentality of thinking the best player has to be someone scoring a goal.
But do they change the conversation? Or do we, as the lovers of football?
The policymaker has a lot to change the conversation, because wherever they teach the news to, that is where the rest of them of the other stakeholders, including fans, those are the people that will now follow that line. So the policymakers, we need to change some things for us to see the reason why we need to also talk of a defender the same way we are talking of a striker. So for us to follow that train of thought, there have to be change of policies.
However, one final thought on this. The truth is, Messi, Ronaldo have been in the zone for like 15 years. And in that time, every season they broke records. Every season they scored one more goal, made one more assist than the previous season. And it's like, before them, no other player had ever been in such a long period of form. Can we ever truly say, because, the older generation will say Pele was their greatest player of all time and can never be surpassed. The Argentines till tomorrow will say Maradona was greater than Pele and will never be surpassed, although now many of them have converted to the Messi church. But with Messi and Ronaldo having done something that no one has ever done, even if the policymakers change the scope of what we consider to be the criteria for judging the best player in the world, for the Ballon d'Or, for the World Player of the Year at any given year, even as we sit here and many others at home sit and discuss and argue and debate over this issue, is there ever going to be any player after this era is done once and for all that is going to be able to surpass these legendary statistics, the longevity of their dominance at the top?
Yeah, my opinion, the continuity is it's something that the media attention is something. I'll keep saying that, but what brought about media attention has to do with how excellent they were in their play. But I feel that if no injury, we have players like Alan and the rest. If they continue that, there'll be also concentration on them. And those records, there were no records before they became records. All records are meant to be broken. And I believe that in time, subsequent years, seasons, we have somebody winning as much and even more possible, even much more than what Messi and Ronaldo has done.
I hope we can continue this conversation on air for the benefit of our audience, but we have to start today's story. The Falconets triumphed over France. Opening game, first game, only game so far in this Costa Rica 2022 World Cup that is going to take place. Are the Falconets ready?
Yeah, they are ready. I'm sure we remember when Azizat Oshoala was also a member of the team. We did something. We won the silver twice in this particular category.
True.
So it is not something new to us. We can only hope that we will become the first African side to win the Under-20 Women World Cup. We've won the silver medal before. We've seen Azizat Oshoala voted one of the best players of the tournament. So Nigerians have done so well. The Falconets have done so well in that age grade, but we are hoping that we should do more than what we've done in the past.
The fact that they've come so close gotten the silver on 2 occasions. I mean, women's football is always improving and across the different age groups that do play. So if this team, this tournament, or maybe even the next tournament, even if they don't win this one or don't win the next one, if they get to the quarterfinals, if they get to the semis again, if they get to the final, are any of those stages, finals, I know everyone is happy for their team to be in the final, but even if they don't win it, is it enough for us to be happy that they got as far as those stages if they do that?
No. It is not. It is not enough because it is just the same thing that is happening in the Women's African Cup of Nations. We are tired of just winning that tournament. We want something better. So if we, the only stakeholder that will be happy, you understand, is the ladies themselves who will probably sell themselves out to better clubs now that we've seen increase in Nigerian players going overseas, Nigerian female players going overseas. So if we get to that area, what we want to see, because I know that if it's the Super Falcons against the France women national team, the first one, it can never be that score line. You know, with our first game of Peter Delebe, the former coach of the Super Falcons, was 8-0 against the France side. The inability for us to translate that winning Super Falconets, you understand, against the European side to the Super Falcons against the European side, it's always our problem. So the best we can see right now is to have to enjoy the moment. The players sell themselves out, probably win the trophy, get to second, but we want more than that. And that's why the senior national team is always a point of discussion. But good to them, they've won the first game. Our beats a very bad weather, the game has to be stopped and all that. 85 minutes, we saw the goals coming from the captain of the side. That's 1-0, that's one team. So on Sunday, we're having our next match and we can be hoping that we can go far, at least make a record to be the first African side to win a World Cup.
Even if we are considerably unhappy about the Falcons not winning the last Women's African Cup of Nations, relatively speaking, as our women's football has gotten increasingly better, our men's team have gotten increasingly worse. I wouldn't want to start the debate here and now without a female colleague available to discuss from her perspective. But do you think, or the question be, is it that the women are hungrier than the men's team? Or is it a matter of focus from the administration on the women's team, either to bring them to the level, to catch up to the level of the men's team in terms of support, in terms of resource allocation, or like I asked the first time, is it just the women's desire is greater than the men's desire at this point?
First and foremost, the fact is that it's a little bit unfair, that do different tempo, the men football and the women football, no matter how successful or how hungry the women football Super Falcons are, this Falconet, it cannot be compared to the tempo going on in the men's and football. And I want to think that the women have done so well for us. But, every stage in life, we also want that main goal, you understand? And one of the main goals, which also the men has not been able to do so well. Also, the last time we got to the quarterfinal of the Women's World Cup was in 1999, the quarterfinal stage. The men has not done that. It's a different tempo entirely. For the women getting to that stage, they've not been able to repeat that because the European women football is quite different from the African football. And that's why there's the NFF has brought about foreign coaches. Peter Delebe in the past. We have this man there right now, holding on, hoping that we can do better, that give us fourth place there. So everybody now thinks that if the foreign female coach a foreign coach that can give us something we've not been able, because we've not done so well in the European, in the World Cup. So I think it's a different tempo, and the women are doing as much as possible they can with that tempo and with the resources, because there's never a time whereby the resources you give the men would be equal to the women. And just of recently, is it the England,
the USA,
the USA national team, ask for equal pay. You understand? And that's the first thing that I believe right now that have done that. So there are two different tempos. Even if the resources given to the men are given to the women, does not necessarily mean that the women will get our heart desires for us.
All right. There's still much more to talk in that direction, especially with the USA women's team agreeing with the USA men's team for equal pay. But we'll go now to Spain, where Barcelona have registered 4 of their newly signed players ahead of their opening game of the season at home at Rayo Vallecano on Saturday. La Liga source said midfielder Frank Kessie, defender Andreas Christensen, and forward Robert Lewandowski and Rafinha are now available to face Rayo Vallecano, though Jules Koundé still needs clearance. Barca had to meet La Liga's salary cap to register their new signings, but several economic levers, including new investment deals, released funding after the final lever was triggered. Barcelona would have to free up the so-called salary mass to register 23-year-old France defender Koundé. La Liga restrictions also affected players who renewed deals in the closed season, but forward Ousmane Dembele and defensive midfielder Sergio Roberto have now also been registered. Barcelona have been using several mechanisms to increase their revenue in order to offset losses, reduce debt, and fulfill La Liga's financial fair play rules. The club said on Friday, August 12th, they had sold a 24.5% stake in their audiovisual studio to production company Orpheus Media for 100 million euros. To raise funds, of course. Barcelona last month signed a deal with digital fan token firm Socios.com to sell 25% of their stake in Barca Studios. Lewandowski was an important player for them to register. I hear that they actually had to promise that they would register him first, because of the issues and the worries about whether Barcelona would be able to afford to pay the transfer fee, be able to afford him the playing time that he requires. Barcelona have now gotten 4 major signings registered on their books. They're still trying to get rid of certain players like Memphis Depay. They're still trying to get rid, although they haven't publicly taking that position, but privately they've been moving in that direction to move Frankie de Jong out of the club, off the wage bill, and free up perhaps enough money for them to still go after Bernardo Silva in this window. Barcelona, to me, I want to get your opinion, now have a team that is capable of competing with Real Madrid for the league. And potentially, if Xavi is every bit the master tactician, the boy genius head coach manager that they want him to be, he might even have a team that is capable of competing in the Champions League.
Definitely, with the registered players and with the tactics of Xavi, we expect that they should be able to compete with Real Madrid in the sense that these are the major competitors. I'm sure nothing has indicated that Barcelona has lost what it takes to compete in world football, and it's always a two horse race when it comes to Barcelona. Perhaps if you add Atletico Madrid to it, it will become 3. So there's nothing really to worry about whether Barcelona will be able to compete. It has been historical. It has been something they've been doing for a very, very long time. If it's not Real Madrid, it's Barcelona. If it's not another of the two, it has to be Atletico Madrid.
You see, under the previous administration of Barcelona, they spent so much money trying to get quality once they lost Neymar. They spent so much money on Dembele. His injury records have been not good enough to allow him demonstrate all the value for the money they paid for him. They spent so much money on Griezmann. He's back in Atletico Madrid now, about to start the second year of his 2-year loan deal to Atletico Madrid. They spent so much money there as well, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. Now they have Aubameyang, who will either compete on the left side of the front three with Ansu Fati for that position. They have Rafinha and Dembele, who are going to be manning the right. And if Lewandowski continues to prove to be as consistent as he has been at Bayern Munich, he will probably play every game, missing one or two here and there. The fact is, this team is better off than the teams they've tried to assemble since they lost Messi, Neymar, under the previous administration.
Yeah, for everything, the succession plan is always may or make. You understand? And it's expected. And it's not just about Messi. It's also about the fact that since they've been losing Xavi, Iniesta, these are integral part of that team. So to build another team, it has to take time. So I think it's something that every club needs to face. We realize in Manchester United, since the exit of Alex Ferguson, they've been up and down in trying to build a formidable team under different coaches. Also, even the inclusion of Ronaldo didn't really make so much difference. This is an era of, or rather, a phase in the progression, and just like in Oman. So I want to think it's expected. That's why a lot of people plan that succession plan very, very well. That even before the legit good players, great coaches leave, they know what is the next thing. Even after you do a lot of permutation that, oh, it is going to be like this, it doesn't still end like that. So I will not say that these are going to be the best set of people. This is perhaps going to be a phase, because for everything they've done in this this buying of players this season, they've done that in the previous season. We can only hope that there's always going to be that stage of permanency, you understand, stamina, that yes, is at that stage that's when we can say, fine, they've overcome where they've been coming from. I also want to say something interesting about La Liga. That has to do with the fair play financial regulation. I think it's interesting to know that Barcelona is not bigger than La Liga. Yes. You understand? That is why they need to even go out of their way to sell a percentage of the shares in a company they own to another company to make sure things goes on. Because at the end of the day, FIFA also have its own financial fair play regulations that La Liga doesn't go about it. They really have to be penalized for that. So it's a very good one, and it's a lesson for everybody that Barcelona is big, Real Madrid is big, but there's still a regulation.
They're never too big.
They're bigger than what regulates them. And that's why we are saying, oh, you need to sign.
But don't you think that with these kinds of clubs, the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, these are the two biggest clubs in the world? Isn't there always an option? It seemed like just a couple of days ago that they might even lose out on Christensen, on Kessie. These players that they brought in on free, they seemed like bargain opportunities for them. They might have lost out on keeping them. But there was always another lever that could be pulled. Whereas a lot of teams, the likes of Nottingham Forest, Derby County, these teams don't have such levers to pull. The regulations do not balance the scales as much as the administrators claim or want the scales to be balanced. There's still always going to be advantages for the bigger teams when it comes to the real issue of competing with their fellow big teams who are the likes of Manchester City, who can afford to bring in a £60 million player, a Chelsea who can afford to spend over 300 million in one window. I feel like, is it a lost cause, the idea of some form of financial regulations rule to govern these clubs?
Yeah, I think at that stage we're not going into the business part of football, of the business, and that really shows that there's a lot of more investors. But some people are small just because they don't want to cancel their traditions. What they've been, example as Arsenal. Arsenal is as big as any other club in the world, but this tradition, financial tradition, they don't want to go beyond a certain things. But there are other players, there are other clubs that decided to throw everything out. You understand? Bring in money regardless who's bringing in the money. So in that aspect, it's only going to be for the big ones are definitely going to be the big clubs are definitely going to be the one going against the financial play because of their commitment and that stand all for a very, very long time. So to me, it is what it is based on the fact that there are more investors coming into big clubs
football.
like that.
It is true, although it does strike me as odd that Barcelona look more like Real Madrid now than the club famous for the La Masia Academy. But let's go to Chelsea, who are aiming to strengthen their squad before the Premier League transfer window closes, with a central defender and a striker the priority. But they will not resort to panic buying, manager Thomas Tuchel said on Friday, August 12th. Chelsea lost Antonio Rudiger and Andreas Christensen during the close season before signing Kalidou Koulibaly from Napoli. But the Senegal international suffered from cramps and was withdrawn earlier in their 1-0 win over Everton last weekend. Chelsea's record signing Romelu Lukaku rejoined Serie A side Inter Milan on a season-long loan, while the misfiring Timo Werner returned to Bundesliga outfit RB Leipzig. They brought in Raheem Sterling from Manchester City. Chelsea, who have also recruited defender Marco Correa from Brighton and Hove Albion, have been linked by the British media with moves for Leicester City defender Wesley Fofana and Barcelona's Frenkie de Jong and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Tuchel was reluctant to talk about players from the other clubs, but said he had fond memories working with Aubameyang at Borussia Dortmund. Chelsea take on London rivals Tottenham Hotspur on Sunday. The transfer window will close on September 1st. Chelsea's former manager Antonio Conte, who guided Spurs to fourth place last season for an automatic Champions League spot, said he was happy with how they had bolstered their squad following the arrivals of Richarlison, Yves Bissouma, and Dej Spence, Ivan Perisic, and Fraser Forster. The Italian also addressed their over-reliance on forwards Harry Kane and Son Heung-min, who combined for 40 league goals last season. Well, Chelsea face off against Tottenham Hotspur this Sunday, and it's coming early in the season for these two teams to meet. It's going to be an interesting matchup. Antonio Conte has all the experience you would want from a manager. The team has been bolstered heavily. You would think they were about to go compete in Champions League. He has enough bodies to throw at Chelsea, and with the option of 5 substitutes now available this season, and Chelsea's not still being at the level that their manager Thomas Tuchel would like them to be. Would you give it to Antonio Conte this match?
Yeah,
To Tottenham?
it's two interesting sides. They've known each other for a very long time, and there's not any suggestion from me right now, the beginning of the season, to say it's going to be Chelsea or Antonio Conte. All what they're doing right now is just to make sure they get to what it needs. Both of them fortify their team, and they're still looking forward to bring in new players into the team. So to be from the neutral perspective, I expect that the better team to win, because both sides have good managers that have the tactics to win a game. When games like this end in favor of one particular team, it is not a minus to the other team. These are two big teams who have done so well. Who could believe that last season, from where Antonio Conte started, they could go to the Champions League? Nobody. That, to me, is a victory on its own without a trophy. You understand? Looking at how it all ended for them last season. For Chelsea, it was not interesting as supposed, because the bringing of Lukaku, they expected that to really do so much for them in that aspect. But the summary of these two meeting together is about rivalry, is about history, and both sides could have the day.
Manchester United, their game this weekend. Eric Ten Hag says not to worry. Everyone at the club is calm. What is your impression?
Yeah, they should not be worried. I think he has what it takes. The first game, you understand. I'm not just a fan, or just I'm looking at it from the professional side of view. When you play a first game, the reason why people are glamoring and not happy is because of where they are coming from, not where they are right now. This is a new era for them. It's a new beginning. A coach that has done so well for youth side, a coach that can tell Ronaldo to be on the bench, a coach that has. So when you lose your first game, albeit it's a lower team, it's a new era, new beginning. The worry can start coming after 3 or 4 games. So to me right now, I think they are away from home. They're away from home, so we expect that they should win that. So it's just a new beginning. It's not something to really get worried. But fans that has a long tradition of winning trophies, tasting victory under new management, it seems is the old. But to me, I believe in the present coach.
Well, we don't have much time, but I want to get your quick impression. This last story. Lionel Messi and even Neymar do not make the final 30 shortlist for the Ballon d'Or. Ronaldo does. Benzema is far ahead of everyone in terms of points. I think it's okay to say Benzema is going to win this Ballon d'Or. Aside from that, how big a deal is this that Messi is missing out on the Ballon d'Or shortlist when he just won the 7th one?
Starting from the 7th one, a lot of people is just controversial because they're supposed to be Lewandowski. But putting that aside, I want to believe that looking at the last season so far, round of 16 they were out. He lost a penalty in that, and nothing is really going. So we can't say because the logo one should be the standard of determining who the Ballon d'Or is. So I believe it's the right thing at the right time. Neymar out of it is fantastic. That in the same club, the club has not done so well outside where it's based. You understand? So to me, I feel Benzema has done so well, and Benzema has done so well not just because he's going to win the Ballon d'Or. It's Benzema because he has done so well. We saw what Real Madrid, the Champions League and all that. In that squad, there is no Ronaldo. So he has been able to uplift the team. He is a new magnet around Real Madrid. So we expect the media, what he has done, expect that it should be Benzema.
All right. Thank you so much, Mudashiru Shittu. It's been an interesting and flavorful Saturday discussing sports stories from around the world, and especially as football is the main sport for this weekend. My name is Mikhail Tinubu. As always, I'd like to thank you, everyone at home or out, wherever it is you're choosing to catch us on Plus Sports special on PlusTvAfrica. Remember, life is never boring with some sports. Enjoy your weekend and all of the Premier League and just generally league football that comes with it. Thank you.